Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: 5 goals, a hat-trick, a dodgy penalty, 29 games unbeaten and a 27-point advantage for Celtic under Brendan Rodgers. Tommy Wright says one team at McDermott Park got it wrong. And the pressure is mounting on Mark Warburton at Rangers as Aberdeen move into second place. Yep, just a few of the talking points from the weekend's football. Alan Ruff will discuss them with me, Peter Martin, and our bookroom guest, as ever on a Monday night, is Mark Guidi. Great to have the two guys along with us. So lots to talk about. Let's get right into it. First of all, yesterday's game. Celtic in the end 5-2 winners. All the talk about the referee. Did he get it wrong, Ruffy?
Yes, he got it wrong. I think after we all saw it the second time, he dramatically got it wrong. It wasn't anywhere near his hands. It hit the boy's waist, and you can see why the manager and the players were so upset about it.
Yeah, Craig Thompson awarding St Johnstone a penalty. When St Johnstone were 2-1 ahead, he awarded Celtic a penalty, I beg your pardon, Mark. And at that point, I think most people were in disbelief at, first of all, the awarding of the penalty. St Johnstone players were irate about the decision, and it gave Celtic a lifeline back into the game. You know, many people have said they would have won it maybe anyway, but it was a crucial point.
It was. It was. You know, I don't like to criticise referees, Peter, but it was a poor call by Craig Thompson, and clearly it's been guesswork because the ball didn't hit his arm. So it was a poor decision. It deflated St Johnstone. I think psychologically they lost it, and it certainly gave Celtic a lift in belly, put the penalty away to some tune, and you know, Celtic never looked back from that moment. But you can totally understand why Tommy Wright and his players felt aggrieved, because it was never ever a penalty kick.
Yeah, you mentioned there it was guesswork. The other thing about it, I think sometimes it's easy to absolutely slaughter a referee. I think Craig Thompson's one of our better referees. You know, guesswork could have been the key here. I don't know who was advising him, whether his assistant helped him in any way on this one, even from the distance from the player who's hitting the ball to the player who's actually there and deemed to be had committed the offence. I don't know how he got to that decision. There was no way, even if it did hit his arm, clearly he could have got it out the way. Yeah,
again, it's we go back to it's a referee having to make a decision there and then, not after we see the replay. Actually, when I was watching it, you know, and he gave the penalty, I went, well, it must have hit his hand. You know, there wasn't a clear vision of it did or it didn't, but he's made a decision, and that's what referees have to do, and he has to hold his hand up and say, I got it wrong.
I thought maybe St Johnstone should have had a good call for one out of the 2 penalties that they had, claimed.
Yes, I think Scott Brown did foul Danny Swanson. I thought that was a clear penalty kick. Boyata and Shaughnessy, no, I don't think so. But certainly St Johnstone should have had a penalty, and would that have given them the opportunity to go 3-1 up at that stage? So again, you know, a big call, and I think the wrong call by Craig Thompson.
Yeah, okay, there are positives in the game. Moussa Dembele is clearly a positive. The goal with 24 passes, they're calling it a Rabona. I didn't know that was actually what you called that little flick from Mikael Lustig. I didn't even know he had it in his locker, to be honest with you. But the flick from McGregor and the finish, I mean, it was just an unbelievable goal.
It was great football, and when you take the refereeing issues and put them to one side and analyse Celtic's performance, Peter, it's brilliant. You know, Dembele to come off the bench to get a hat-trick. I mean, they'll be claiming he's worth 60 million soon. So they played really well. Lustig's been terrific. He's signed his new contract, and Celtic showed a mental strength not to panic and to recover from being a goal behind and to go on and win the game. And when you look at them, you do feel, I certainly feel that I think they're going to go through the season unbeaten. I think they've got the bit between the teeth, where they are taking the old cliche, one game at a time. They're focused, and I think this could be a season where Celtic break all sorts of records and win a treble.
I think you've got to give all credit to St Johnstone for having a go. And we've heard managers like Derek McInnes saying, look, when you have a go against Celtic, you let yourself open, you usually lose goals. But I thought St Johnstone were a breath of fresh air. I thought they set about the game right away.
Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the table, because quite simply, some people, and I watch various journalists, commentators, maybe down south, look at it, and obviously, they're looking on and saying Celtic are ahead by 27 points. That's not Celtic's fault, but they are going for a record that could actually outstrip what PSG achieved in the French league last season, Ruffy. 31 points was the record. You know, I think Celtic are only going to get stronger. That's a real worry for everyone.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you see the games now, and particularly yesterday's game, I've already given credit to St Johnstone, but in reserve, Celtic, when they're up against it, just throw in the big boys and they just come on and they just do what they've been doing all season. They're a class above most of the other players and they can turn a game within 15 minutes.
OK, let's switch our attention to Rangers. Mark, is it time for Mark Warburton to go?
No, I don't think it's time for him to go, Peter. I think that would be unfair on the manager. However, I do think we are now in that period where it's the beginning of the end. And it may well come apart in the ways in the summer, but I can't see him turning it around enough because he doesn't have the resources to do it, to A, satisfy the board and B, satisfy the supporters. So I would expect time frame that Rangers will be looking for a new manager in the summer. I hope I'm wrong, so I don't want to see anybody lose their job, but when it does come to the point where they replace Mark Warburton, I think a key component that they should be looking for when they draw up a list of what they're looking for in the manager is somebody who absolutely understands what Rangers is all about, understands the enormity of the task in front of them, totally gets the feelings that the supporters have, and somebody that can enjoy a relationship with the board. That's got to be key in the next appointment. Well,
it's 1 win in 5 games. He's now starting to talk, and explain things away, Ruffy, which I think people are actually, starting to doubt, starting to question, the way his team are playing and the players that he's brought in. Every one of them is under scrutiny. I don't think Mark Warburton would be under as much pressure had it not been for, first of all, Dave King putting them under pressure with there's 30 million. Secondary to that, I think going for 55, whoever come up with that in the PR department needs to have a long, hard look at themselves. And thirdly, I think the other pressure that came from within, the players talking about we can challenge Celtic. All of these things, when I think, to his credit, Mark Warburton mentioned, second would be a really good season for Rangers. Now, if he doesn't get second, then I seriously think somebody would have to look and say, as Mark mentioned there, maybe it's time to go in another direction.
Yeah, I think he's been the smartest one of the lot. As you've just said there just now, he hasn't come out and really predicted anything. He has now, as a matter of fact, he said Europe is our target, and he's been pretty sharp in that way because all he has to do is finish second or third. But I think with the results that are going there now and the way that Celtic are so far behind, every game now is a pressure game. This Saturday's a pressure game. The fans will look at a Scottish Cup run as soon as, if that goes out the window, that'll be more pressure. And certainly getting into Europe is something that they need to get into, most definitely. And then after that, I think supporters being supporters, buy into it usually. So I think we really have to wait and see to the end of the season.
Peter, I can sort of just to go on the Mark Warburton, the points that you made there, I trace it back to when Rangers lost 5 at Celtic Park at the start of September. And I think that Mark Warburton became his own worst enemy that day, set unrealistic targets and was naive because what he said after the game was there's not a gap between us, which was absolute nonsense. What Mark Warburton, because then he set the standard there for these players to come out and say, well, the manager said that even though I've lost 5-1. What he should have said and what was the right thing to say was that Celtic the benchmark, given time, we want to be able to afford to bring in the players the standard of Scott Sinclair at £3.5-4 million to go and try and get them bellies. That's what he should have said, and therefore you're putting the pressure back onto the board to go and get you funds to become realistic challengers. But he didn't. He put all the pressure on himself. In other words, saying, well, actually, I've been given what I've asked for, and we should be doing better. I thought he was really naive that day.
Yeah, I don't like to see fans hurling abuse at players. I don't think it'll do Rob Kiernan's confidence any good. But over and above that, I think that the real crux of the matter here is, as I mentioned to you, Ruffy, March 12th could be the line in the sand where if they lose, I think a lot of Rangers fans will think enough is enough. But I wonder if they have enough money to sack him and go for someone else. That's my problem with the background here.
Well, it's obvious in the window there that they don't have the money. They don't have the money to buy. Okay, they spent some money on the goalkeeper, but they don't have large amounts of money to be thrown about. So that's not. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's an end of the season one. I omitted the Celtic game coming up. Yeah, you're right. That falls into the category as well. If that was a turning over, you know, then as fans are fans, you know, they don't want to be turned over with their biggest rivals. So that's when you start getting into crisis mode.
Okay, you can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well. Coming up after the break, we are going to look at Hearts ever improving under Ian Cathro, Aberdeen's Derek McInnes now in a real battle to finish second, and we'll look at the relegation issues as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. Delighted you could join us. Monday to Thursday we're on at 7 o'clock, and you can catch the repeat at 10:30 on a Monday. We always have our bookroom guest Mark Guidi with us to discuss the weekend's football and any emerging headlines from today. Of course, we discussed Celtic and Rangers, but full marks to Aberdeen. They stepped up to the plate. Derek McInnes made the changes, Jayden Stockley in there, and even Ryan Christie doing a dance in front of the Aberdeen fans. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing what a goal does for you.
Yeah, it was a game they won in the end quite comfortably, but again, Partick Thistle had chances at the right time in the game. You've got to take these chances against the bigger sides. They never, and I have to say Aberdeen probably run out the worthy winners in the end, but it was a good game.
Do you think they can finish second, Mark?
Yeah, they absolutely can. I think it's a fascinating race between Aberdeen, Rangers and Hearts. You know, Rangers really should finish second, but when you look at what Derek McInnes has achieved at Aberdeen, you know, he's taken a club that was, you know, bottom 8, struggling into bottom 6, into a club that wins silverware, and you know, is a regular top 2, top 3 club. So at the moment I would put Aberdeen as slight favourites, but I think the three of them will be involved to the wire. Yeah,
here are the results in the Premiership from the weekend, including that Celtic result from yesterday. Good win for Hearts at Motherwell, but again, no shortage of controversy there. Mark McGee coming out, he was less than happy with Andrew Dallas's decision to show a red card to Carol McHugh, and again it had an impact on the game, with Gonçalves and Zealis getting the goals that gave Hearts all 3 points there. I'm asking you if Aberdeen and Rangers in the battle for second, I'm just wondering if you know, Hearts could maybe catch either of them.
I don't think you could rule Hearts out. I mean, obviously they've got a wee bit of a gap, you know, up into the last couple of games. You know, they dropped a number of points, but Ian Cathro has certainly got them going. Gonçalves has clearly been a good addition. I think he's really livened them up in the final third. Johnson's still a threat with his physical presence and his height. So Hearts will be involved, but they've got a big game in the Cup coming up. But Ian Cathro is taking a bit of pressure off himself and getting Hearts moving.
I may as well get your thoughts on it, because you won't be around for our weekend show on that. Who do you think is going to win between Hearts and Hibs?
I think it's going to be an absolute, you know the Edinburgh Derby well, Peter. I think it's going to be a real ding-dong, 5-6 goals. I think it's going to be one of those games. I'm really looking forward to it. Hearts 3-2.
Wow. Okay. I don't know why you're looking at me, Ruffy. I usually get it wrong. You know, there was one moment yesterday when Celtic scored early on, and I thought, well, this looks as if it's game over. Liam Henderson scored right away, and then St Johnstone came back with 2 goals, and I had that kind of a Hibs in the Scottish Cup feeling about it. It is so difficult to call this Cup match, Ruffy, as far as the favourite's concerned.
Yeah, obviously Hearts have got home advantage. I think they'd be playing against better sides, you know, and obviously the addition and the win in the 2 games, they'll feel a lot more confident going into this game than they would have done 2 games ago. But I think Hibs will go there. I think they'll have a lot of confidence as well. I think this one will go to a second tie.
Yep, okay. As far as the rest of the games are concerned, of course, at the bottom end it's getting ever more interesting. I finally adopted something that I used to chastise you for, Mark Guidi, which was changing your mind before March. but I think Inverness look as if they're doomed, and I'll tell you why. It's an interesting piece, and a good piece in the Daily Record this morning, where basically they worked out over the 10 seasons the average to avoid relegation, and the average is about 31 points. Obviously, you know, the average to avoid a playoff place would be about maybe 37. But you're asking Inverness to try and win 4-5 games, and they've only won 3 games all season. It looks like a tall order for them. I think they're gone.
I agree with you. I think Inverness are gone. You know, Ross County managed it 2 years ago with Jim McIntyre. They put a real great run together and got themselves away when they looked doomed in October, November time. I think Hamilton and Kilmarnock, and I was at that game on Saturday, I think the two of them will battle it out for 11th place. I think like Motherwell, Dundee, Ross County will all be fine.
Yeah, it's amazing you saying that, because in that article, and I was reading it, Ruffy, it mentioned that Ross County, Motherwell, Kilmarnock, they're all on 24 points. They only need a couple of wins and a draw, and suddenly they can start to think about staying in the Premier League next season.
Well, I think the first thing they'll want to do, they don't want to be in the bottom 6, because the bottom 6 will be so close together. And if you go into that bottom 6 with even just 3 points more than everybody else, it takes the pressure off you a wee bit. Because when it gets to the bottom 6, I think every team in that bottom 6 is capable of beating each other. And we spoke about it at the weekend, having that, sometimes that 3 games at home, 2 games away, when a split comes, and that could be even more important this year than any other year.
I've got a sneaky suspicion. I mean, I tipped Kilmarnock to go down, and listening to Lee Clark after the game on Saturday, he told us on the football show he's very confident they won't be thinking about relegation.
Shadow of a doubt. I've got total belief in the players. We've got good experienced lads who are doing brilliant for us. We have some exciting young players of our own and some that we've loaned, and etc, etc. And I am confident. As I said, I'm not being disrespectful to the other teams, because you're seeing how tight the league is. It's quite unique this season and how tight it is. But we are positive in our mindset. Actions speak louder than words. We have to deliver the performances to get the results on a regular basis, and that's starting again next Saturday at Dundee.
Well, he was confident after the game, and that was just a section of his interview, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, he's had a win and a draw. He's going to feel confident, but I think you have to really sit down and look at the fixture list of the games that these teams have got coming up to the split, and who's got the harder of the others, and it'll be the team that picks up most points before them, because I've just touched on it there. I honestly don't think confidently we could sit down, and if you look when the bottom 6 happens, comfortably who's going to get it.
Yeah, who's your playoff place, Ruffy?
My relegation was Hamilton, and my playoff would be Kilmarnock.
Are you sticking with that?
Yep.
Okay. What about the Championship? Because there were some interesting games there, especially at the bottom end as well, because it was a huge opportunity, I think, and an opportunity missed for St Mirren against Dumbarton, Mark.
Yeah, it was. I think St Mirren had to win that game, Peter. I watched them the week before against Falkirk, and even though they lost, I thought it was a really good performance. Like Stephen McGinn, Cammy Smith, Rory Loy coming in made a difference, but I felt they had to win on Saturday, and now, as much as they won't give up and they've still got Ayr United in their sights to get into the playoff, I don't like to say it, but I think St Mirren are away now.
I think they might be able to catch Ayr United. Obviously United will get a boost for that game at Easter Road, but I just Mark's just rhymed off players there that are playing with St Mirren, and I would like to think they would know through experience what it was going to mean to them dropping the league, so that could be the big push for them.
Yeah, here are the results from the Championship. Of course, Ayr United, well used to going to Easter Road and getting a result. They managed a win in September and managed another good point there against Hibs on Saturday. Queen of the South continuing the good run over Gary Naismith in charge against Morton, and of course Falkirk winning the match against Dunfermline. And Dundee United still making a fight of it, Mark, closing in only 6 points between them now.
Yeah, I mean, they won't give up. Ray McKinnon and his players will keep going. I think they'll be on Hibs' shoulder, but I do expect Hibs to win the title. Neil Lennon's assembled a really good squad. I watched the programme last week with Leanne Dempster. It's such a well-run club from top to bottom, and Neil Lennon and the players are producing what they have to do on the park.
Yep. From the Championship, just before we finish, Ruffy, I thought I'd get your thoughts on this one. Real Madrid's owner Florentino Perez, or President, I beg your pardon, has mentioned that he wasn't happy with the Real Madrid game being called off. And he basically now, according to reports in Spanish newspapers, is stepping up this effort to get a kind of a breakaway Super League.
Yeah, well, we've heard it before, and I think if you ask the breakaway Super League, there will be super teams wanting to be involved in that, but I think when it boils down to coming to that kind of decision, I think we're years and years away for that.
Yeah, just briefly on this one, I sometimes think when the rich keep making the noises, sooner or later they get their own way.
Yeah, I think there'll be a change, Peter. I don't think it'll come in the next year or two, but maybe 4, 5, 6 years down the line, you'll see a change in the dynamics from the Champions League as we know it, and different things. So I don't think there'll be a breakaway, but I think there'll be some kind of restructure. Okay,
thanks to Mark Guidi, our bookroom guest on Monday. Do join us on tomorrow night's programme. The St Mirren goalkeeper and coach Jamie Langfield will be our bookroom guest. From Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching the football show tonight. Good night.